standing in the middle of one of the nation's largest cities, wondering what our greenhouse gas production might be. We don't have a clue, actually, what each person here in this city generates, but we do know what each cow generates, thanks to the work of one Dr. Frank Mitloehner from the University of California, Davis. It was some time ago I read about livestock's long shadow, that cows are contributing more greenhouse gases than cars. Do you believe that?
No, actually I don't believe that, and we've done research to disprove that. And this report came from a United Nations FAO publication that claimed that livestock produces 18% of all greenhouse gases globally, and the report claimed that's more than transportation.
What is the contribution of greenhouse gases from animal agriculture?
Well, according to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency here in the United States, livestock as a whole, all species, contribute 3% of all greenhouse gases in the United States. Just to give you a reference point for transportation, transportation is 26%, and electricity production and use is 31%.
And the United Nations, I mean, you dispute that bit of, if you want to call it science or not, that's your word. But there's a reason that it was an apples and oranges scenario.
Yeah, that's correct. What the United Nations FAO has done is they have done a so-called life cycle assessment. That's a big word. What it means is a complete assessment of everything that livestock contributes when it comes to greenhouse gases. So everything from fertilizer to soils to crops to animals to manure, the whole life cycle. So they've done a life cycle assessment for livestock, but they compared livestock with transportation. But for transportation, they didn't do a life cycle assessment, but they only looked into how much greenhouse gases comes off the burning of gas. They didn't look into what does it take to get the oil out of the ground, to refine it, to build trucks, trains, planes, ships, and then eventually burn the gas, but they only looked into the burning of the gas. And so they did a complete life cycle assessment for livestock, very comprehensive, and for transportation, they only looked at a very small compartment, and that's an apples and oranges comparison.
What is it that you think you have gained most that should be recognized by the American consumer about the planet that we live in?
The most important thing the consumers need to know is that the way that we raise livestock here is really a model of how livestock should be raised, because we can produce a certain amount of animal protein with the smallest possible environmental impact. And that's very important. We are a model for the world with respect to how we raise cattle and pigs and chickens and so on. So that's one of the most important messages I think the consumer needs to have, because they think that eating a steak has a greater impact on the environment than driving their SUVs or doing the other things they do in life, and that's just not right.
Do you think that greenhouse gases really matter in the big picture?
Well, yes, I know that greenhouse gases matter in the big picture. The question is where do they come from and who contributes what? So first of all, there are of course very significant natural greenhouse gases coming from natural sources. They are always there, that's a natural background. On top of that, we are burning a lot of fossil fuels, and that means oil and gas and coal. And that means we're taking carbon that was in the ground for hundreds of millions of years, and we are now burning it and putting it into the atmosphere. And by doing that, they heat up and they lead to overall heating of the globe. And so I do believe that humans do have a contribution to it.
So with the database that you have put together, understanding scientifically what is contributed in terms of greenhouse gases, knowing that greenhouse gases are a resource if utilized properly,
yeah.
How do you see animal agriculture going forward with the information that we've acquired?
Well, I think that animal agriculture plays a very important role in overall greenhouse gas mitigation, because we can use agricultural byproducts and so-called wastes in order to make commodities out of that. My own parents' village in Germany is off the grid because they use animal waste products, completely off the grid. They produce their own electricity and heat to supply 1,000 homes from something that has recently or previously just been disposed of. So I think that we have huge potentials to contribute other products in addition to meat and milk and eggs, and those can be utilities. I think we have a very important role to play.
It seems like today in our society we have people talking about problems, and then there's a whole other sector the scientists like Dr. Frank Mitloehner at University of California, Davis that are looking at the scientific background and determining what the solutions are instead of just rattling on about the problems. Thank you, Dr. Mitloehner. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Trent.
I'm Trent Luce, nearly getting hit by the buses committing greenhouse gases here on the streets of Denver. Thanks for joining us.